Business Insider reveals shocking urgent warning headline. The U.S. diesel crunch means it's time to stock up on food. And Robert Kiyosaki said that here's what the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author and 5 experts are warning as fuel runs short. Folks, this is a serious situation. Now, I want to read to you some of this information from this Yahoo Finance article. And it says that there's an acute diesel shortage in the U.S. and it's sparking worries about inflation and food supply. Higher fuel prices mean higher delivery costs, which could feed into higher prices for consumers. And it says that a shortage of diesel in the U.S. has set alarm bells ringing for many experts who are flagging higher prices for goods and risks to food supply as truckers pay more for fuel. It says here that inventories of diesel fuel have sunk far below emergency levels, and EIA data shows U.S. had only 25 days supply of diesel left in reserves as of 3 weeks ago, a low not seen since 2008. The reason? Refiners slowed their refining as the pandemic hit consumer demand, but truck operators kept on buying at high levels as they continued to make deliveries. Diesel is used in freight transportation, and tight supply could mean less food and other goods getting onto supermarket shelves, and higher delivery costs feeding into higher prices for consumers. That could worsen already high inflation. And it also says that shipping isn't the only thing threatened by a diesel shortfall. Heavy users like the construction and farming industries are at risk too. Pay attention, folks. It says that not all observers believe Americans are definitely headed for a diesel crunch. Some are saying it's just business as usual. Perhaps maybe there's some ulterior motive and agenda being pushed here. But Yahoo says here's what 6 experts are warning about the dwindling diesel supply. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad author, said Kiyosaki tweeted about the risks to food supply from a diesel crunch and returned to touting tuna as a good investment. Years ago, I suggested investing in cans of tuna. Why? Because tuna is a derivative of diesel. That's what Kiyosaki said. Tucker Carlson just reported diesel supplies gone. Went to Safeway, bought 5 tuna cans for $1. Stock up now. Next line's not to gas stations. Next line's at grocery stores. Diesel feeds world. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy, quoted, "Ahead of the holidays, this will be something that keeps the price of goods higher," end quote. GasBuddy's DeHaan told CBS News, referring to diesel at $5.30 a gallon. He said consumers won't feel it when filling up with gasoline, but as they shop for the holidays, the cost of goods will be higher. It will contribute to some levels of inflation. He also added, noting that Amazon has turned to flying more planes and has put up the price of Prime memberships at the same time. But the gas expert pushed back at the suggestion that the 25 days of diesel inventory means U.S. diesel supply will dry up. Hopefully not. What's the number saying? If not how many days we have, it's saying the market is tight and challenged, and it demands attention. Again, it does not signal that we are definitely running out in X amount of days, according to the tweet. Tom Closa, global head of energy analysis at Opus, said that diesel has increased impacts to inflation in the form of freight costs and surcharges. Between now and the end of November, if we don't build inventories, the wolf will be at the door, and it will look like a big, ugly wolf if it's a cold winter. Heed the warnings, folks. Mazen Danaf, senior economist at Uber Freight, while many hoped that easing supply chain constraints would help in taming inflation, it did not have the effect we expected due to high fuel costs. We're just continuously facing more and more challenges. The impact is definitely felt by the end consumer because shipping costs have been one of the main drivers of inflation in the past year. Mike Steenhoek, executive director of the Soy Transportation Coalition, said that in visiting with a number of farmers, the consensus, of course, is that diesel costs are one more incursion into profitability, and that as far as getting supplies, it looks like those areas most dependent upon the river are experiencing the biggest challenge, the Mississippi River. A couple of farmers told me that diesel supply via their local vendor is day to day. That's not good. Ed Hears, University of Houston professor of energy economics, said that, suggesting that there's no reason to panic about the low U.S. diesel supplies, as reserves are topped up on a rolling basis. Maybe. Inventories of diesel and gasoline are down below 5-year averages, and if the entire world were to stop, we would have 25 days worth of diesel. But the world doesn't stop. We're not counting on it stopping. Your grocery store may have an inventory of 3 days of milk. That's because they only have 3 days worth of at any given time. But the cow keeps milking. The farmers keep sending milk and the dairy keeps delivering. Perhaps, maybe. However, if perhaps maybe 10,000 cows were to die, then that milk supply would dry up. If we were to lose another oil refinery, then our diesel supply could dry up. So, yeah, it's a rolling average. But if we were to see some form of fire, disaster, cyber attack, or other catastrophe that could impede the ability for diesel fuel production to occur, then that 25-day supply reserve will be dwindled down rapidly, faster than it can be replenished. Then we're going to have some serious problems on our hands.